All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. It is Sharp and Shapiro. Chris Wynn in on a Monday. A reminder, our show moving 9 a.m. to noon starting August 12th. We are very excited about that.
One more hour of the Vegas Take.
That's right. We're expanding the show, so thank you to all your listeners. And by the way, our phone lines are jammed. I promise you we will get to all your calls here in just a few minutes. But, you know, I called many Republicans cowards, and there is a reason for that. Because many Republicans are shying away from the issue of gun legislation. And say what you want about CNN, but I've always said Democrats need to go on Fox News, Republicans need to go on CNN. I say that all the time, especially when you have just horrific tragedies that took place over the weekend. So Jake Tapper is doing his show over the weekend, and I want you to listen to this because I think this is very important.
We should note that we invited the Republican governor, lieutenant governor, and both Republican U.S. senators representing Texas to join us this morning. They all declined. The Republican governor of Ohio also declined. We also asked the White House to provide someone to discuss these shootings. That request, too, was declined.
Yeah, one word, coward. All these Republicans that get paid by the NRA for their campaigns and all these contributions, they want to shy away from this issue because they would rather accept contributions than to save lives of Americans. That is the definition of a coward, no matter which way you slice it. And I don't care if it's CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. We got a couple Republicans that went on Fox News in these fluffer interviews blaming movies for what happened. It is a joke. Go work in the porn business if you're going to ask those fluffer-type questions. Again, the number is 257-5396. So what is Beto O'Rourke, who is from the great state of Texas? What is his response to all this? He was asked if President Trump is a white nationalist. Here's his response.
I do. And again, from some of the record that I just recited to you, the things that he has said, both as a candidate and then as the president of the United States, this cannot be open for debate. And you, as well as I, have a responsibility to call that out, to make sure that the American people understand what is being done in their name by the person who holds the highest position of public trust in this land. He does not even pretend to respect our differences or to understand that we are all created equal. He is saying that some people are inherently defective or dangerous, reminiscent of something that you might hear in the Third Reich, not something that you expect in the United States of America.
Pete Buttigieg, Democratic presidential candidate, was on with Jake Tapper. This is not a man who likes to attack people on a regular basis. He was asked, is Trump a white nationalist?
At best, he's condoning and encouraging white nationalism. Look, when you got people chanting Jews will not replace us in the streets of Charlottesville and somebody gets killed in an act of terror and the president sees very fine people there. We have a president who made his career politically on demonizing Mexicans, and now we're seeing reports that the shooter yesterday had his goal as killing as many Mexicans as possible. You don't have to use a lot of imagination to connect the dots here. It is very clear that this kind of hate is being legitimized from on high. And if that were not true, the president would be acting and speaking very, very differently than what he's doing right now.
So what do you guys say out there? Do you think that President Trump is a white nationalist? Do you think he plays a role, not solely responsible, but plays a role in some of these devastating shootings? Let's go to Samantha. Samantha, what's on your mind? Thanks for calling in.
Well, there's over 100 million people in the United States, and we're all exposed to the same rhetoric, video games, social media, movies, and whether legally or illegally, we all have the same access to firearms. So we need to, and that's not going to change, law after law. We got to stop pointing fingers at anyone but the shooter. Murder is already illegal. What is the root cause? What's inside these men that caused them to plan out these attacks besides pure evil?
I understand what you're saying, Samantha. I don't necessarily disagree, but you just asked that question. What is inside their mind? We have a manifesto saying what is inside the mind of this shooter at the Walmart shooting at El Paso, and he used the same, very similar terminology in that manifesto that President Trump has used. Do you not see the connection there?
I do see the connection, but I heard the same rhetoric, and so did you. And we didn't take a firearm and go shoot up a
well, that's
Walmart
because we're sane. That's because we're sane
okay.
individuals. I'm
so
not saying not everybody, not everybody wants to kill innocent people, but I'm saying, don't you think that could give somebody a reason? And when you are the president of the United States, maybe you disagree with me, Samantha. I don't know if you gentlemen do. I think your words matter.
I think that
Your words matter, but we have to get to the heart of what's causing these people to snap.
Well,
There's
mental
always
illness.
going to be words. There will always be words.
there are obviously other circumstances. Maybe what the president has said has a very, very, very small, which is still too much. I agree, but I'm sure there's many more things than what the president has said at any point that is causing this clearly mentally unstable, insane person to do what he does, to pull the trigger, to walk into a Walmart wearing headphones like we're wearing right now, listening to who knows what. Maybe Frank Sinatra, maybe heavy metal, and to walk into a Walmart and to kill 20 people in El Paso and to drive 700 miles to do it. I mean, you saw the picture of the guy. He looked like he was drugged out of his mind. I would actually blame Big Pharmacy more than Donald Trump in this situation, significantly more.
Well, we don't know what type of drugs he was on, so I'm not going to make that determination.
Did you see his picture?
I'm not going to look at someone based on what they look like and assume that they're on pharmaceutical drugs because of that. I'm not. What I will do is I will reference the things that Donald Trump has said in the past, and I will say that that certainly plays a factor. Listen, if it's proven that he was on certain medications, then yes, that is a conversation I think we need to have.
But the point that Samantha was making generally, I think, is absolutely right when you're saying that, yes, the blame should be on the shooters without question.
Absolutely.
Okay? That goes without saying. I think we're talking about all the other ancillary things, all the stuff from the outside, whether it's social media, whether it's, our politicians, what they say, whether it's, just basically society in general, the impact. But, there's no question
Absolutely.
that the shooters deserve most of the blame here.
No question. Let's go to Oliver. Oliver, thank you for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Oliver.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Doing well.
What's up?
So you guys made a comment earlier about how the Second Amendment should be revised, and I don't think it should be, not one word of it should be revised.
Okay, I didn't make that comment. JD did, but I will say this. I think weapons of war should not be out on the streets. I don't care, regardless of what our forefathers said, the Second Amendment. I'm just speaking in general terms here. These weapons should not be out on the streets, period, whether you're a sane person or not a sane person.
Well, I understand that, but and weapons do change, and I'm sure our founding fathers anticipated that, but what doesn't change is people. A greedy person back then is a greedy person now. An evil person back then, there's evil people now.
But an evil person that doesn't.
At any point, a tyrant can arise.
But that doesn't mean.
Damage.
But that, with all due respect, that doesn't mean that an evil person should be able to have the wherewithal of buying guns like this.
A tyrant is it's very difficult for a tyrant to arise when there are 330 million people, which is what there are in the United States. When the Constitution was written, there was what, 3 million, 2 million.
Yes.
Maybe a million. I mean, the numbers are. I mean, it's astronomically different. It would be almost impossible to create a tyrant or to create a tyranny situation in today's.
But that caller doesn't make any sense.
Of course, it doesn't make any sense.
Because we're evil, that means we shouldn't change any of our laws. It's ridiculous. Let's go to Bob. Bob, what's going on?
What's up, Bob?
Gentlemen, how are you this evening?
Good, Bob. What's on your mind?
Good. First things first, I agree with Samantha. The blame for this lays squarely at the feet of the two shooters that were involved.
Right.
But I think it would be good if we all stepped back from the emotional and tried to approach this on a logical basis. If you want to attribute blame to Trump and whatever, the fact is that these two shooters did what? They broke the law. Dayton, I know, has a law against murder. El Paso has a law against murder. Now we have people that break the law that are legislators. Ron Wyden, Democrat senator from Oregon, helped an illegal woman across the border in defiance of ICE.
With all due respect, I'd rather have someone help an illegal across the border than somebody walk into a Walmart and execute 22 people. What point are you trying to make?
And choosing what
do you mean I'm choosing? How could you compare the two? Hello?
Of course you can compare the two, because once you go down that path,
but that
saying,
path.
well, this law matters, but this one doesn't matter.
Listen, I got cited for jaywalking. Do you think that's on the same level? Should I get the electric chair? Bob, with all due respect, what the hell are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that once you establish the premise that laws are fungible, then all of a sudden you have no law. You have no society.
Who says there's going to be no law? I still have no idea what you're saying.
Do you really think that passing yet another law is going to eliminate this problem?
Yes. Oh, so Bob, do you really think we should just sit on our ass like you and not do anything? Do you really think that?
I'm not sitting on my ass. I'm saying that there are people that are fundamentally evil. And no matter how many laws you pass,
are you Mr. Obviosity? Of course they're. So we shouldn't change any of the laws based on the problem we have with the rising in hate crimes and gun violence.
If you want to attribute to Trump the blame or partial blame for his rhetoric, then why not attribute the same thing to our legislators? I mean, we're paying them to be legislators.
I am putting
the laws.
All right, Bob. I appreciate that. I hope I never jaywalk, Bob, because you might compare me to a serial killer. So I appreciate the call, Bob. Thank you so much.
He's saying the broken glass theory.
Well, I don't know.
Well, no. What he's saying, he's bringing up legislation and legislators, and he's bringing up a totally different situation that doesn't make any sense and is not really in context of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, Bob.
The whole thing is that. This is the whole deal, okay? Is that, yes, we need to take steps. We not just sit on our hands and not do anything, okay? That's not the plan going forward here.
Well, Bob, one time I got a speeding ticket for going 4 miles over. I think I was going 28 into 25. So, good grief. Just lock me up. Maybe we'll get that. Lock Brian Shapiro up, maybe at Trump's next racist rally. 257-5396. Let's go to David. David, what's going on?
Hey, guys, how's it going? So, listen,
hey, David.
I agree with a lot of the last few callers that the fundamental problem here, first of all, I agree with everybody and everybody's talking past each other, which is fine. Everybody's passionate. But here's the thing is the problem is evil. That is the problem. Now, that doesn't mean we don't pass laws or whatever.
Right.
But here's the question I have for you guys.
Okay.
What do we do about evil? Because nobody wants to have that conversation because that conversation requires something above themselves.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. That is a legitimate question, and I will try to answer it best I can. Now, there are all different types of evil. Let me tell you something. If you rape somebody, I think you should be castrated. Okay? If you kill somebody, it doesn't have to be 22 people. Yeah. It could be one person. I want you to die. Okay? Now, a lot of people on the right will probably agree with me on that. If you kidnap a child, okay? Kidnap a child, you should the rest of your life in jail, as far as I'm concerned. If you rob a bank, there are some countries where you get your arms cut off. Okay, I'm not saying that's going to happen
here.
Those
are all great for those individual circumstances, and that's fine. But back to my original question: what do we do about evil itself?
Your question is impossible to answer. Okay, you're asking a question.
It's not impossible.
Yes,
to answer.
it is.
It's only impossible to answer if there's nobody above you in the hierarchy of the universe. That's the only way it's impossible to answer. Because in my universe, we turn to God and it goes away.
All right. Well, I'm higher than God.
Okay. So okay. There's there's a lot of people that worship a lot of gods in this world. Okay, in American society. Yeah. Now you can go down that rabbit hole if you want with respect to religion and who should be worshiping who. But you ask the question, and I'm giving you an answer. You ask a question that's extremely broad by saying, "How do we fix evil?" As if there's one answer, right? As
ridiculous.
If there's one only answer, and that's ridiculous.
Well, according to Bob, evil is jaywalking in the streets. That's
I think you can. You have to talk. You have to talk about parenting. If you're going to talk about the evil of 15 to 19-year-old kids or youth, you have to talk about outside influences on them, like social media.
Parenting.
Yeah,
parenting.
I mean, if you have impressionable people who are being pushed in one direction by a number of things, you have to talk about all those things. And I think parenting. What's going on in the media? I really believe social media because again, if you're bullied at school and you're there for 9 hours a day or 8 hours a day. Right, and you don't have many friends. Imagine that amplified times 3 on the internet at home when you're there with your parents, and say your relationship with the parents isn't great, and you have access to a weapon, and you're mentally insane. That's where something like this comes from. I really believe that social media and extended bullying that takes place because of it has a lot to do with these situations.
I would disagree with that, JD, and this is why, okay? And there's been numerous examples that have come out on social media the last few days of people saying, you know what, I had a horrible childhood. I was abused as a child. I had a lot of stuff that was dramatic that went on in my life, but I still was able to come out the other side and not be violent and not kill people and not be a mass murderer. So, all due respect, I think that's not.
And couple that with
only one aspect.
Couple that with mental illness and the ability to get a weapon, and you kind of have a recipe.
For the record,
what takes place.
At 39 years old, I have great parents. They told me, don't listen to that orange man racist. So 257-5396. Let's go to Kurt. Kurt, what's going on?
Hey, Kurt.
That's true, by the way. Go ahead, Kurt.
How's it going today, guys?
Doing good. What's on your mind?
Hey, I wanted to, one thing, and it's going to sound like I'm picking on you, but part of the problem that we have here is hate, okay, and anger. And I was going to come in and say, wow, the last couple of calls were all pretty calm. And I totally get where you get. I found some of it ridiculous myself. But part of it, you have a huge influence over, tens of thousands, how many people you have listening here. So, you know, when you go off and start screaming, it's going to get them riled up. It's going to do the same thing.
You know what? We should be riled up. No, America should not be calm when our people are getting massacred on almost a daily basis.
Agreed. Passionate does not mean angry.
I'm angry. No. Make no mistake about it. I'm passionate. You know why I'm angry? I'm angry that 31 people died over the weekend. I'm
angry that 40-some-odd people died in Chicago.
Absolutely. One murder and another murder. We should be angry at the hands of gun violence. We should be angry at our politicians. And you know what, Kurt? I'm angry at our president. I'm angry at our president.
I'm going to disagree with you because I believe there's been plenty of laws that have been enacted, some good, some bad, some effective, some ineffective.
Name me an effective gun legislation bill that has been passed in the last 2 years.
And we know that those background checks have taken the hands out of weapons because we have statistics on how many people have been turned down by
name me an effective piece of gun legislation that has been passed since the Connecticut shooting. Don't tell me bump stocks.
No, I'm not going to say bump stocks.
Answer the question then. Give me a good, then answer the question.
But hold on.
No, I'm not going to hold on. Answer the question.
Hold on. Let me just say. Let me ask you a question on that.
No,
are you talking about an effective piece of gun legislation, which I don't think we've had a lot of, or some piece of legislation that doesn't have any effect?
Give me any
because
piece
a lot of people say nothing's been done because it hasn't been done the way they want it to be done.
Okay, then name something that you think has been done since the Connecticut school shooting. Name me something that has been done, whether you agree with it or not.
Right off the hand, I can't tell you that I know of
exactly
one since the Connecticut.
Exactly. Okay, then your point is not taken, Kurt. I appreciate the phone call, but you could name one piece of legislation that has been passed. That's called getting owned. 257-5396 the number to call. 702-257-5396. Go to Chris. Chris, what's going on? Chrissy Everett, what's going on? Did we lose Chrissy? I sound like Jim Rome there. Let's take another phone call at 257-5396. Again, that number to call, 257-5396. I think we just lost another caller. Let's go to Johnny. Who are we going to here? All right, let's go to Brad. Brad, what's going on?
Hey, guys. How you guys doing? Hey, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I'm here.
Sure.
Just give me a second to ask the question. So the rhetoric has gotten super hot, and, you know, there may be some people out there that think, you know, that the rhetoric is real and that they need to act. So let me ask a question, you know.
Sure.
If I were to say that, you know, Trump is locking up kids or babies in cages, if I was to say that Trump is a racist, a Nazi, and that he wasn't going to leave office and he wanted to be a dictator and he didn't like brown and black people and that he wants to round them all up, do you think somebody might react to that?
First of all, you just named a lot of things. I've never said that Donald Trump is a Nazi. I don't agree with that type of language. Okay.
I didn't say you said that.
I believe when Democrats or anybody on the left that is not a Trump supporter calls Donald Trump a Nazi, it is bad for political discourse. I do not agree with it. And yes, I do think that type of language is dangerous. However,
here's what someone said on your show last week. You had a congressman on, and he said that white people have white privilege. And today they said that white people are terrorists. White terrorism, white privilege.
Well,
That's
first
racism.
of all, let me respond.
It could be true, guys. That could be true.
You just said something.
A whole race of people.
Okay, well, first of all, Chris, I'll let you respond to. First of all, there is something called white privilege, and you cannot tell me that if you are. Excuse me, let me finish. Okay, African Americans compared to white people over the course of time has been more privileged. So with all due respect,
what race is AOC?
Excuse me, she's not white.
She's Hispanic.
She's Hispanic.
Brown.
She's brown.
Hispanic's not a race.
She's not white.
Hispanic is not a race.
You know, let me tell you something. You've got 31 people that died over the weekend, and you want to talk about semantics, about white privilege, that's where your anger comes from? How pathetic do you...
You actually sound much more angry than he does, Brian.
I'm angry at the caller.
I'm not angry at all.
We have all these people that died over the weekend,
and
the first question you come up with isn't AOC white? That's what's on your mind right now.
So you think she's white?
You know how I would describe.
You attack people based on race.
You know what? I would describe AOC as Mexican American.
Okay, well,
she's Hispanic.
Here's the problem.
It's a race.
Here's the problem with that.
Hispanic is not a race,
She's Puerto Rican.
No, the issue with me
Puerto Rican's not a race.
The issue
whatever.
with me describing AOC
now you sound like a clown.
as
So she's white.
Puerto
Are you saying
Rican
she's white?
or Dominican or Hispanic or whatever is crap.
Yeah.
She is American. You are American.
Of course.
I am American.
Yes.
Chris is American.
I agree.
We need to stop identifying each other by the color of our skins.
I agree.
It's about the country, not the race.
I will say
it's
this,
country above race, and that's not being understood.
I agree 100%.
And the media is taking full advantage of that.
Well, I don't know if I'd go
Oh,
that
I
far.
would go that far.
Of course they are. They're making a ton of money by separating people predicated on the color of their skin.
I think the president is dividing us.
No, the president has made statements that have divided
the president
people in
is
this country.
he is a nationalist. I am a nationalist. I happen to be Caucasian. Do I want to identify myself as a Caucasian nationalist? No.
No, we're all Americans.
We're not talking about you, JD, though. We're talking about the
It doesn't make a
president.
difference. We are all Americans.
Well, tell that to the president.
Yeah, the president of the United States is a racist.
And one of the biggest problems is that the government has been giving perks to people who are of different races.
Well, let me tell you this: if stupidity,
it's been happening for a long, long time for a reason.
Well, if stupidity was a race, that last caller would be a part of that
Sure,
race.
fine.
257-5396. Let's
Was
go
he trying to say AOC is white?
I don't know. That last caller was in the stupidity race. Let's go to Lewis. Lewis, what's going on?
What's up, Lewis?
Hey, gentlemen, how you guys doing?
What's up?
I want to talk about the El Paso shooting. It's
Yes, sir.
kind of sad I got 3 to choose from. But my point is this: when I first heard the news, this guy drove 600 miles to a border town where there's a lot of Latinos. My very first thought, this guy, I didn't know who he was, but I know he was probably a white nationalist, a white terrorism. That's what I immediately thought of.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody on the right, they went straight to blaming video games, mental illness. Limbaugh said this morning abortion has something to do with it. So why aren't they calling it terrorism? If these shooters, if they were a couple shades browner and they happen to have a Quran rather than a Bible, nobody will be talking about mental illness.
That is a good point.
Trump today made a very. Trump today said that there is no place for hate. He condemned white supremacy. He condemned bigotry, and he basically called it an act of terror.
By the way, if you're going to bring up Rush Limbaugh, if anybody should be talking about abortion, it's him because he does look like he's 8 or 9 months pregnant. That's number one. Number two.
Hey, but that's his choice.
Number two,
that's a life choice for Rush.
Can you explain to me, Lewis? Because it's very interesting. When you thought of white nationalism and you thought about white supremacy, why did you think that as soon as you heard about the shooting?
You know what? Because, they said, who's going to drive down 600 miles, pass up all these towns, end up in a border town?
That's a good point.
He had a manifesto about Mexican invasion. It kind of adds up, and everybody that's saying, blaming video games, this and the other, I guess violent video games only affect white people. I don't know.
Right. Lewis, I can tell you something, Lewis. I want to hear from people like you. And you're absolutely right.
Let me ask you this. All 3 of these shooters, they basically look the same. They were about 16 years old. They had brown hair, they had glasses, and they look like, the kid that's really good at math. Mm-hmm. In your high school. Now, when you see someone like that walk into a bar or walk on the street or walk into a Walmart or walk into any place you are you scared now?
I think we all have our biases in certain situations. That's a tough question for me to answer. I got to tell you something. I'm going to be honest with you, JD. I wanted to go to Walmart last night to pick up some stuff. I thought twice. And maybe I shouldn't be thinking like that.
And I did the same thing. I was actually at Target, and I was thinking to myself,
"Oh my God!"
No, I mean it wasn't quite that, but the thought for the first time in my life,
mind too.
It did cross my mind.
Yeah, we're in agreement. Let's take some more phone calls. The phone lines are jammed. Let's go to Carlos. Carlos, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up, Carlos? What's on your mind?
Well, the thing is this: I'm an illegal immigrant, if you want to put it this way. I've been in the country for 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
I got 3 kids that born in the United States. And this country has been giving me the more stuff that I couldn't give them in Mexico.
Yeah.
One of my kids is a Marine Corps. He just graduated a couple months ago. And I'm really proud of him because this country brings me a lot of stuff. The thing that I'm pissed off, or the thing that I'm not agree, is with the lies of the last 10 years of all the candidates on presidency and the stuff they've been saying.
Right.
About immigrants who come over here and we take advantage of jobs.
Right.
We take all these free health, free benefits like food stamps and stuff like that, which is not true.
It's a lie. Carlos, can I ask you a question? I'm so glad you called in. I want to ask you this. When the president says these Mexicans crossing their border They're rapists. They're bad people. And I suppose some of them are good people. When the president is at a rally and someone's referencing shooting illegal immigrants and he laughs, how does that make you feel?
It feels me like a crap.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like, since I got here in 2000.
Yep.
Since I've been here, the first year that I was working, I started paying taxes. I make my taxes every year. I pay for my stuff.
God bless you.
I pay for my sons.
Yes.
All that stuff that all these white, whatever you want to call them, or most of the time it's the Republicans that say this.
Yeah.
That we come over and store jobs. Right now, it takes me over 10 years to be working in the position that I work. Right now, I'm a welder fabricator.
Yep.
I've been working for a company for over 13 years. I started $13 an hour. Right now, I'm making over $26 an hour.
Good for you.
Well done.
You know what,
Because
Carlos? Because you worked hard. And Carlos, first of all, let me just say, God bless you. I'm so glad you called in.
Carlos, let me ask you this.
We just let him.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to say, Carlos, God bless you for coming in. Or for calling into the show. You're the type of person we want here. You're a hardworking individual. It sounds like you got great kids. Sounds like you're a good father. And Donald Trump is trying to demonize people like you. You're the type of person we want in this country.
Now, what I would ask him
He's not trying. He is demonizing people like that.
I would ask him, why have you not attempted to become legal?
Well, I mean, sometimes they don't have the means to do it. That's a valid
If
question.
he's making $26 an hour, he certainly does.
You know what? If he wants to call back in, I will ask him that question, JD. That is a valid question. Let's go to George. George, what's going on? Thanks for calling into the Vegas Take.
Hey, George.
You guys were talking about, I think, prescription drugs earlier. And
I mentioned it. I mentioned it briefly.
And there was a radio show, AM radio, hate radio was on, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and they were talking about, they named 75 people by name and the prescription drug they were on and the mass murder that they committed. So that was a common denominator regarding prescription drugs. I'm not saying every mass murder is attributed to prescription drugs, but I got to say a large portion of them are. And I have a physician brother in-law that agreed that coming on or just getting on them and coming off of them, if you stop them, abruptly, causes crazy stuff in your brain.
All right. Well, I'll tell you something, George. I'm not a therapist, but there's no doubt about it that many psychologists there are overprescribing medications. We don't know if the shooter in Texas, Gilroy, and Ohio.
We've seen all the pictures of these guys after the fact. They all look the exact same. Downtrodden, their eyes are barely open. They're just kind of staring off into space like they're just stoned out of their minds.
Is Donald Trump stoned out of his mind? Because I look at Donald Trump's face and I see that. I mean, we can't make references based on what somebody looks like and assume that they're on medication.
All these shooters, after the fact, they all look the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: when you're talking about something like whether it's prescriptions or whether it's their influences outside, we have to keep it in perspective and understand. Look, there's millions of people in society that are exposed to the exact same thing, and yet they're not killing people. Okay?
Exactly.
We have to keep that in mind.
Exactly. Let's go to Paul. Paul, what's going on? Paul, you're on the Vegas Take. Go. 257-5396 is the number to call, and I believe our next caller will be, who would it be, Johnny? Bob. Bob, what's going on? Bob, are you there? Issues with our phone lines at 257-5396. Johnny, who will be our next caller? Who would that be? Let's go to Natalie. Natalie, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. What's on your mind, Natalie?
Hello, good evening. It's Brad and JD, right?
Brian and JD.
Yeah, Brian and JD.
I'm sorry,
That's
my apologies. Okay, I just have a preliminary question.
Sure.
Are you both Anglo-Americans?
I'm whiter than white. I know that. If that answers your question.
You could definitely call me a WASP.
Okay, so all right, just let's every listener keep that in mind. First, have you ever had immediate?
What do you mean? Keep that in mind. What does that have to do with our opinions?
Because certain people have certain opinions based on their ethnicity.
My ethnicity has nothing to do with my opinions. So you're 100% wrong on me.
Okay, that was just a follow-up or a question for me to platform this. If you would give me a moment.
Okay.
One, either of you, have you ever had an immediate family member, meaning a nuclear family member, mom, dad, brother, sister, wife, child, die in a mass shootout or in any sort of random act of violence?
I've had friends.
Okay.
Yes, I
friends,
have.
coworkers. Okay, so and you're so quick
I
to
have
dismiss
not.
people that have had that happen, and you just go, well, that's okay. It's just because everybody's a target. So, but it's never happened to you.
I just said it did. What are you talking about?
Yeah, to a friend. Now, I asked. My question was, did it ever happen to you
So
in
what
your
is your
immediate
point?
nuclear family?
So what is your point?
So clearly it's happened to you, Natalie?
Well, I just think that you might want to be a little more sensitive to your listeners' statements or their issues.
What do you mean sensitive? I'm
we
defending.
can't be more sensitive.
I
Yeah,
couldn't be
that
more
we
sensitive, Natalie. I don't want
understand
these. I
what's
don't want
going
these
on
things
here.
happening
Honestly,
again.
This is probably like the most sensitive show I've ever had.
Natalie,
Okay, and then so
last year and a
then you
half.
guys are scared to go to Walmart or Target, and Target, Mitch Hedberg.
What are you talking, Natalie? What are you talking about? Are you on medication?
Did you just say Mitch Hedberg?
No. But the fact that you're white and you're scared to go to a Walmart or a Target because you think you might get hit, you just might.
What are you trying to say?
And what does?
What,
she,
what,
and,
what,
and
hold
then
on,
she
keep her
started
on the
conver-
line.
No, I
Natalie,
think
are you
she's
still on the
gone now.
line?
She's already
you
gone.
Coward.
Yeah, like first of all, she brought up race as the
What a
first
nut
thing,
job.
as if people of different races would have a different perspective of a mass shooting, or or their family members getting killed.
And
What
we didn't say it
difference does
was
it make what race you are?
We didn't say it was an immediate fear. We just said it crossed our minds.
Let me be
And I'm
clear,
sure
Natalie.
We're one of hundreds of thousands because of how publicized everything has become.
Let me be clear, Natalie. I'll tell you who I'm scared of. Dummies like you who have no business being on the planet Earth because of your ignorance. That's who I'm scared of. I'm scared that there are people like you in society that are racist. I'm scared that there are people like you in society that look at somebody's skin color and make their point more or less valid. Natalie, you are a nitwit.
You know what I want to know? I want to go back to the last 20 or 30 shooters that are still alive or dead or whatever, and I want to find out if they, assuming they were mentally ill, if they had a doctor or a therapist or a psychiatrist, and I want to know if they're on medications or not.
And that's fair.
And that's no one's ever really looked into that before.
The first thing she brought up was race.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but
she's
in
an idiot.
9/11, everybody was represented, right? That ended up getting killed. And all of these shootings, they're people from all different types of backgrounds and races.
Not only that, in the Dayton shooting, 7 of the 9 were African American.
I'm not even going to talk about her anymore because she's an ignoramus. Let's go to Steven. Steven, what's going on?
Hey, Steven.
Steven, did we lose you? We lost another caller. 257-5396 is the number to call. I hope for Natalie, I hope I was sensitive enough in that call for you. I hope I was being sensitive to you. Let's go to Michael. I believe Michael is our next caller. What's going on, Michael?
Hey, how you doing?
Going good. What's on your mind?
Good evening, gentlemen. Love the show. Continued success on your next time slot.
Hey, Michael,
Thanks a lot,
thank you, Michael. Please be sensitive to us.
Okay, well, don't make this a race thing. I just have a general question, my good man.
Yes, sir.
I agree with you totally with IQ tests in order to vote.
Yeah.
Because half my family, I don't like that they're voting. That's not because of who they vote for. It's
I got
because
you.
I don't think they understand the whole thing.
What do you think about guns, though, Michael? Do you think you need an IQ to carry a gun?
I own 15, but I'm not out there.
I got you. Okay, go ahead, Michael.
My question is, sir,
Yeah.
in your opinion, based on an IQ test in order to vote, which party would lose the most potential voters?
I think it'd be even. I have no way to see with my problems with Republicans and Democrats got nothing to do with intelligence. It's got to do with guts.
I think the Republican Party would lose more voters. I believe that the Democratic Party is probably more intelligent because they're typically more educated.
I will say
and you have to have a certain threshold to be able to handle becoming educated.
I will
at least
say
on a post-grad level.
I will say this. I don't care what party Natalie is in. She certainly would never be allowed to vote for the rest of her life. Let's go to Kevin. Kevin, what's going on? Kevin. Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin, you are on.
Oh,
Stefan. Okay, Stefan, what's going on? Your last name
Hello,
isn't
can you hear
Curry.
me?
Your last name isn't Curry, is it? No, I can't hear you, Stefan. Your last name isn't Curry, is it? You're not a basketball player, are you?
That was a lowest hanging fruit question there, Brian. I thought you were better
Stefan,
than that.
I'm giving you a hard time. Go ahead, Stefan.
Yeah, first of all, I'd appreciate if you wouldn't drown people out. I'd like to hear what other people have to say. Sometimes you just get so upset and you go on a rant. I get it; it's your show, but
No, I just want to make you happy, Stefan. Stefan, am I on? Can you hear me? Am I on? Am I on? Stefan, am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I just want to make sure I was on. Okay, go ahead, Stefan. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm on, Stefan. Yeah, go ahead, Stefan.
First of all, I'm 54 years old. I'm a bred, born, and raised California native. Great place to be born and raised. My grandparents came. They immigrated from Italy 70 years ago, and they waited in lines and paid their dues and did everything the legitimate way. Now, I own weapons. I have several guns, but I have never in my life, nor would I ever go into a mall, go into a movie theater, God forbid, go into a school. And as far back as I can remember, I kind of connect the beginning of all these shootings, the mass shootings. It was Columbine, the high school, when the Dillon kid and the other kid went to the school. And at that time, Bill Clinton was president. So at that very moment, Bill Clinton could have gotten all over it, and they could have said, let's do something to stop this. He did nothing.
Not true.
No, that's not true.
It's not true. You don't know what you're talking about. That's not true.
When President
you don't
Obama
want to address what we just said. Okay, go ahead. Keep going. Yeah.
Gentlemen, there was that crazy kid that went into that. God bless those kids' hearts.
Hate crimes are up 18%. Mass shootings are up. What do you say to that? Stop talking about the Clintons and Obama.
It has everything to do with this has been going on for long before.
Hate crimes are up 18%. Address what I just said, you fool.
No, you see, why do you call people names?
Because you're a fool. You brought up. I'll tell you why. I'll answer your question because you brought up Bill Clinton and you're trying to correlate that with what's going on today. You're a fool.
What he's saying is this happened a long time ago, and as big of a deal as is being made now was not made then, and it could have been, and it may have prevented all the different shootings that have taken place since then.
But here's the deal, though.
And that's a valid point.
This has been going on for years. Is not an argument. Okay, it's not anything that's addressing the situation. It's 2019. It's whataboutism. Okay, stop bringing up what happened when Bill Clinton was president or when Hillary Clinton was a senator, which and it's hilarious. I mean, it's just beyond redonkulous when people want to bring up politicians from 20 years ago when we're addressing something that's happening right now.
Hold on a second. Let's bring up the 84 shooting at McDonald's when Ronald Reagan was president. I mean, come on, guys.
I mean,
give me a break. Why don't we talk about slavery again and then excuse the fact that our president just might be a racist? Well, it's been going on for years, so, it's not changing. Give me a break. Let's go to Bob. Bob, what's going on? Bob, what's up? What about Bob? It's one of my favorite movies, by the way. Richard Dreyfuss.
Doctor.
Yes. All right, we'll take one more phone call, then we got to go to break. Let's go to Johnny. Johnny, what's going on?
Hey, Johnny.
Hey, what's up, man? I do have to agree with the last caller. Just one little item real quick. I do wish you would let people talk more. Super.
I'm letting you talk. Go ahead.
Say what? Anyway, let's move on. So anyway, Brian, I've always, there's laws and things with guns, and I really like guns, but I don't care for the ones that have 300 rounds and whatnot.
Right.
But I do carry. I don't have a carrying permit, but I've always carried, and I've always relished this thought. I'm sorry to put it shortly. If there was ever a shooter in a movie house or a mall, I'm a really good shot, and I would take him out. And no one knows I carry. Well, but
I don't have a problem with that.
Happened. It sucks because I look at myself. I'm kind of like a cop, but I'm a protector of people. But anyway, I just wanted to bring it out.
I appreciate that.
Just not enough to carry.
I appreciate that, but just because you carry a gun doesn't mean you're a cop. You sound like George Zimmerman, with all due respect. It's not funny. I'm being serious. I
understand. But
listen,
Brian,
Johnny, can I be honest, though? Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
If God forbid I was ever in a movie theater or at a supermarket and some bastard was trying to kill people, I would want you there. Make no mistake about it, Johnny. I'm on your side. Okay. The only, but I just don't want these weapons of war out there, Johnny. That's the only.
I don't either, man.
Okay, so Johnny, we agree. Listen, you sound like a nice guy. I have no problem with you carrying. I don't have a problem with people like you if you're responsible and you sound like you are. The problem, I'm trying to just be as clear and honest as I can. I have a problem with these weapons of war, 250 rounds of ammunition.
Let me this about the video games. My son is a video game aholic.
Yes.
I will not even let that sucker get near my guns. I will not. I'm not going to teach him how to shoot. He is
good.
He is
you just call his son a sucker?
But
he did, didn't you?
Your son could have a big future in Fortnite with a $3 million payday.
Listen, Johnny,
and maybe he's just training if he's playing.
That's possible.
Fortnite.
Johnny, I do appreciate the call. And you make some valid points there. I want somebody like you. Listen, we got some more phone calls we got to get to. I went really long there. That was a very long segment. We got to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. We'll take your phone calls at 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN. All right, welcome back. It is The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. A reminder again, August 12th, we are moving and expanding the show 9 a.m. to noon. We're very, very, very excited about that. And tomorrow on the show, we are working on getting a gentleman. There are many heroes in these. Fortunately, we have a lot of heroes. We had it in the Las Vegas shooting October 1, a lot of heroes that save lives, that risk their own life to try to help others. A gentleman by the name of Glendon Oakley, who was involved and saved plenty of lives in the El Paso, Texas shooting. We're working on getting him on the show tomorrow, so that'd be really great. I want to hear his story, and I want to hear from people, just as I did at October 1 shooting, their stories of heroic actions, because they deserve to be heard. We'll finish up with a few more phone calls on this subject, and let's go to Fred, who's been waiting patiently on hold. Fred, what's going on?
How you doing?
Doing good, Fred. What's on your mind?
I'm sorry. Sunday morning, I woke up with my family. My kid bombarded me with questions. He's Hispanic.
Fred, so you're saying you woke up Sunday morning and your son is Hispanic and he was asking you questions about this shooting in El Paso?
At first I tried to make it understand, but after an hour I broke down.
Yeah. I understand, Fred. So can I ask you, Fred, what did you say?
He didn't understand.
Right.
He tried to stop his mother from going to Walmart.
Oh, boy, that is horrible. What did you tell your son, Fred?
For the longest, we had a normal life. He had a great childhood, everything.
Yeah.
But now, he brings up these questions.
Yeah.
Brings insecurity and fear in him.
Fred, do you think...
I run to the bathroom and I cried.
Yeah. Fred, do you think a lot of other and I'm so sorry that your family...
There's some wonderful people in this world.
Of course, yeah.
I told them that not everybody's like that. He can go to school, he can go to college, he'll be accepted. He's afraid he's not going to be accepted now.
Dude, Fred, I'm so sorry that you and your son and your family has to go through that sort of thing. And I hate to politicize this, but I've said, Fred, that for people like you, I don't think the president is doing a very good job, and I think he's dividing the country.
I couldn't sleep, and I'm like, how do I bring him back to... I want him to be confident. I want him to be out there and face the world with confidence, not with fear.
Well, Fred, listen.
I am forced now not to watch those type of news, those channels.
You don't watch the news,
I don't want to watch that anymore.
Fred, I don't blame you. How old is your son?
He's a teenager. He's 15.
And you're telling me that your son, after what transpired this weekend, your wife was going to Walmart and your son tried to stop your wife from going? Is that what you're saying?
He actually blocked the door. She tried to leave and he said, Mom, don't go, don't go. That's when I broke down. That's when I ran to the back. I didn't want my kid to see me cry. So
that's horrible.
We're friends. We're best friends.
Right.
And I don't want my kid to feel like that.
Sure, nobody does, Fred.
You have a child. You want your boy to be a winner, to be a go-getter, to make it in this world.
Of course. Yeah.
Not to grow up with insecurity.
Fred, let me ask you this: Are you Mexican American?
We're Hispanic. Yes,
you're Hispanic.
We're all American citizens.
Exactly. Right. Do you more feel like you are a Mexican American or an American?
I'm an American. I lived in this country for over 30 years.
Yeah. Fred, what would be your message to the president?
I felt like my kid was being abused, was being put down, like he was discriminated against. I felt racism in the worst way because I love him so much.
Right.
I for the first time in my life, I felt racism, and it's never happened with any previous president, any previous administration before this.
Fred, if you had a chance to sit down with the President of the United States, with your family, what would you say to him?
We are all sons of God. God created us all equal. We all love our children. We all have feelings. We all have a heart. We all work hard to provide for them. We all want our children to do well. I mean, he's thinking about his school. I'm not going to speak to the white kids no more. He don't want to talk to white kids no more. I said, no, don't do this.
That's so horrible. Oh, and I don't.
You know what I mean? I said, no, stop it. Don't do this.
Right. Well, Fred, let me say this, okay? And first of all, thank you so much for your courageous call. It is not easy to pour your heart out like you're doing, whether it's on the radio or to anybody. So I want to say thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Here we have a great man. It sounds like a wonderful father, married, been in this country over 30 years. He said a Mexican-American. He said he's an American.
Exactly.
And his son saw what transpired over the weekend. So his wife is pulling out of the driveway, going to Walmart, and his son blocks her going out of the driveway saying, Mom, don't go. This is the country that we are living in right now. Thank you so much for your call, my friend. I appreciate that. And I think everyone should be touched by that phone call. I certainly am. And I'm so sorry that you and your family had to go through that over the weekend. Make no mistake about it. This isn't about just the people that unfortunately lost their lives and the families that are grieving. It's about people like you that are not born in this country but are being demonized by others because of your heritage. And it is wrong. Make no mistake about it.
And Brian and JD, that is a perfect example of a young boy in this country that has lost a piece of innocence, right? That is a perfect example of the real life impact of what's going on in this country right now. And it's sad and it's very disheartening for all Americans out there to hear a phone call like that and hear circumstances in a family be like that.
It's very sad, but I want people like that. I want their stories to be told. Let's take one more phone call. Let's go to Kartik. Kartik, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. So I'm basically a non-immigrant alien over here. Basically, I work on a work visa. And, it's, again, these stories which happened over the weekend is just absolutely disgusting. And it's just mind-boggling that nothing at all is happening, right? No legislation is coming in. Nothing is even happening for us to make this law right. So just take an example of New Zealand. Just because of just one mass murder which happened over there, they changed their entire gun laws. It just happened overnight.
Yeah.
And it's surprising that it takes so many mass murders for us to not even come up with any of the legislation. And it's just really disappointing. And I'm obviously not from the United States. I came here from a different country to work, and then now my family, they're not even willing to come to the United States because they're like, what if I walk out and what if something happens to me? And I'm not going to come visit you. And you come, why don't you come to my country? And so we're not going to come over there because it's scary. It's really petrifying.
Yeah, it's got to scare you.
I'm unable to see my family at all, and it's just difficult. And
wow.
Just coming from a different country where my country does not allow any guns in there. But, it's just, we got to, this country better has to come up with better laws for these. So it's just really disheartening to hear all these mass murders just come in.
It really is.
On a daily basis.
Yeah, it really is. Listen, I'm so glad you called in. And, we feel for people like you as well, Kartik. I'm so glad you called. If you don't look a certain way in this country, if you don't sound a certain way, in many instances, you are treated differently. And I think it starts from the top. What I love about what we do, and what I love about hearing from all different types of people, whether it's Kartik, whether you're a Mexican-American trying to explain to your son what's going on in this country, or even if you're a Trump supporter and you think that the president doesn't hold any responsibility, we're all Americans. We are all the same, and we should all want the same. We don't want innocent people to be killed. We don't want any more of these mass shootings to happen. So how do we come up with a way to prevent these things from happening in the future? We've talked about it for the last 2 hours, and I will bring it up again, and we will discuss it more tomorrow. Gun control, hateful rhetoric by the president all the way down, mental illness. These problems need to be addressed. You gentlemen have give you guys the last word, any last remarks that you want to say before we have to go?
It's extremely disheartening, without question, that this is something that we have to discuss. And look, it's always been an open question. How early is it too early to get political with this? And hey, the fact of the matter is, I think it's just, it ends up being immediately, because that's the only way that anything's going to change, is if we actually take steps to rectify that.
JD, any closing remarks? We got a minute here.
I was glad to hear several callers identify themselves as Americans.
That was nice.
I am so tired of Asian American, Mexican American, Hispanic American, Caucasian American, Black American, whatever you want to say.
How about Orange American?
It is whatever you want to say. Sure, Pumpkin American, Jack-o'-lantern American, I don't care. Halloween-esque American, sure. We are all citizens of the United States of America.
I agree. Well said. The only reason why I bring up Orange American, because I think that man stands up on his own, and he needs to show some leadership. Chris, you always do a great job. Thank you for being a part of this very, very important conversation. Folks, this conversation is not going anywhere. It's here to stay until changes are made. Thanks for coming in, Chris. Great job. JD, we'll be back at it again tomorrow. Hey, JD, how does it feel? This is the last Monday. We're going 6 to 8 p.m.
Feels good, Brian.
Feels good, doesn't it? I feel like we need an hour for another show like this. Anyway, thank you, gentlemen, both very much. The legend himself, WWE wrestler from the 80s, Ken Thompson, coming up next. Have a great night.